Good afternoon. My name is Paola Gomez, your host. Welcome to AwakeNomada. I am today in South Sinai with a great and special guest. We are going to talk about a documentary that he made that is called The Children Behind Zalaga. So before introducing Karim, I want to start with a quote of a film that is called The Beach. This quote inspired him to take action in his life and in his career. And the quote speaks about the beach resort for people that don't like beach resorts. So I introduce you to Karim Ali, and this is your space. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Karim Ali. I'm an Egyptian filmmaker based in South Sinai, Egypt, and I'm interested in filmmaking like years ago, and I'm trying to choose interesting topics to talk about and shed light on, and also I'm trying to make pieces like art pieces to make people or give people chance to think twice.
Great. So we met in a resort called, it's not a resort, but it's a place called Serenity Lounge, and I'm impressed about how life takes you to the places you should be, because this podcast is a nomad podcast and I'm traveling and I'm finding people just like-minded with trying to show the reality of their words. And I got impressed when I realized that I was with a documentary maker and that he's trying to show what the reality of South Sinai is. So let's start with the first question, and is what inspired you to become a filmmaker and to explore the art spectrum to film?
Yeah, let me start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young, my father brought me a camera, and it was the first time to hold a camera. And the first video I recorded, I felt like, wow, this is another dimension. This is a new world that I want to go deep inside. And then after that, I decided to learn filmmaking. So I graduated from the Arab Academy for Science and Technology, and I studied media management in Alexandria, Egypt. And I made a documentary film about people who moved from the city life in Egypt to Sinai, especially to Dahab, where I belong. And and after I made this documentary film, I became one of these people. I moved also from the city life and I came to Sinai. And I decided to discover more and more about Sinai. Sinai for me is a very special place to my heart and my soul, where we are now, very close to nature, by the sea, very close to the mountains. And I thought that this is what I need in my life, to be very close to nature, to get inspiration and to create more documentaries or more art pieces. And after that, after a couple of years in Sinai, I went deeper in the Bedouin community, very close to the community. We'll talk about this later. And I made a documentary film about a camel race in Sinai. So a friend of mine went to this camel race between two Bedouin tribes. And he showed me some videos of the race. And while I was watching these videos, I felt like this is a very interesting topic to talk about and make a documentary film about. And I saw kids riding camels in the desert. So I felt that there is something behind this. I want to make a documentary about these kids. So I decided to make a documentary film called The Children Behind Zalaga. Zalaga is the race and the valley. And the children behind Zalaga. So I spent 3 months in the desert with the kids, and I made it was a really life-changing experience we will talk about. And and now we finished the film and we applied on some festivals, and we were lucky that we are accepted in IDFA, and IDFA is the biggest international documentary film festival in the world. And for me, it was a shock or a huge surprise. And I made the first documentary in my career, long documentary, and go to the biggest international documentary film festival. That was for me magical. And also, not only this, the feedback of the people, that they saw something different in another dimension. So like people in Europe, they see people in the desert of Sinai living a different lifestyle. For me, I feel this is a responsibility for me, yeah, as a filmmaker, like to show people different things in the world.
Okay, well, before continue, thank you for showing the world what is here in the Sinai. I came for the first time last year, and this is calling me back, and I'm lucky to be in this specific place and learning about the culture and everything we have talked about.
Yeah.
But I have a question out of the ones I gave you, and I remember you telling me that you didn't want it to be a documentary filmmaker. So what happened there? What changed that you decided to become one of them?
I felt like this is a challenge for me. Yeah, first, like I was in the university, the first film I made was Aeroplane Mode, that people moved from the city life to Sinai. And in the university they like divided us into 4 groups, and they chose okay, this group will make fiction film and the other will make a documentary, and the 2 other groups will do other things. So I was like, I wanted to make a fiction film, but when they chose me to make a documentary film, I rejected this in my mind. I felt like, no, I don't want to make documentaries. But when I like took space and thought about it, I felt like, why not? And my dream was to move from the city life and to go to Sinai. So I said, why not? Let's make my dream, let's put my dream on screen. Why not? So I moved and I talked to a lot of people here, and I scouted and I like talked with them, and I heard a lot of interesting stories. And after finishing the film, I saw my dream on screen, and I felt like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do.
That's great.
Thank you for asking me this
Yes,
question.
because I remember you telling me that, and I was like, it didn't happen so suddenly, but it's interesting how life put you where you belong, where you have to be if you trust and if you're patient enough and if you're open enough to be listening to the messages. So
I believe it meant to be. That's why I'm here now, because after this documentary I moved, and it opened for me new dimensions here.
That's great. So can you share some behind the scenes or challenges that you face while making the Children's Behind Zalaga?
Yeah. So do you have time? I can share, like, we have like 45 minutes of the behind the scenes, but the 45 minutes definitely will never cover the like 9 months of production.
Okay.
But maybe what I can mention is breaking the ice. Breaking the ice in the Bedouin community was really not easy at all, because the Bedouin community is close community.
Okay.
So if you enter this community, if they gave you the chance to enter this community, this is a big thing, because they could smell your energy if you have bad intentions. And spending time with the kids in the desert, like 3 months with them in the desert on and off, and making them talk and like telling stories,
open
themselves, and letting me like document this, that was the hardest part. Yeah,
it could be the highlight as well, because you break through something very hard actually.
Yeah, the tradition and their daily life, and what they're doing here, how they left their homes and they come here to work in this industry, what are the reasons, and do they enjoy this or not. And they talked a lot about their dreams. So maybe like we make you watch the film tonight, and you will know more and more about it.
Okay, great. That will be good. So talking about you spending time with kids, you do understand the impact that you create by doing so. So how do you believe the film industry contributes to the broader conversation about art and the social impact that it has?
Okay, first of all, one of the purposes that made me make this documentary, for sure, to prove to myself that I can make a long documentary, and that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And also is to shed light on this thing happening in this part of the world. And my goal is to help these kids, to make the world see these kids, what's happening with these kids. To like, I know, I remember when I talked with the kids, I promised them that if I can help you or like leave an impact, or do anything to make your life better, I'll do my best to do this. And yeah, let's go to another thing, like a personal experience about how films leave impact to the society. For example, for me, Castaway, the film, Tom Hanks, after the first time I watched this film, it changed me. It made me like take new decisions. It made me see the life from a different perspective. So I appreciate things. I appreciate food, bed, fire, everything. So this is a huge impact. And also we talked about the quote, the beach resort for people who don't love beach resort. That's from The Beach film, Leonardo DiCaprio, 2000. And after also watching this film, I decided to move and look for a beach resort for people who don't love beach resorts. And this beach resort could be wherever, like here in Egypt, but it's a concept, like looking for a place very close to nature, and it's not like a commercial place, just nature, to get more inspiration.
That's beautiful. I think that is to find that place where you belong. When it feels home, it doesn't have to be a house, but it's a feeling rather. So Karim, as a filmmaker, how do you balance the artist's expression with the responsibility of presenting a compelling and truthful narrative with the documentaries and films?
Yeah, I found this actually in documentaries.
Okay.
I really love fiction films, but documentaries are different. You choose a topic, you follow a character, and you live, and you like wait for no expectations. You just wait for the real things. So, for example, this film, the Children Behind Zalaga, everything in this film was real. Nothing is like created. And this is another school. Like fiction is very good also for me. I'd love to make fiction films, but documentaries you can use documentaries for showing people a real thing in a different place, like in a different part of the world.
Different perspective.
Different perspective.
It's very interesting because I think the truth, our truth as humanity, lie behind the tribes and the people that you said they are a close community, the Bedouin, but I don't think they are a close community. They just want to keep their space, their energy, everything safe, because nowadays everything gets distorted, and it's very good that you can show that truth and real circumstances. It's very good. How do you approach the collaboration between the visual elements that you use for your films and the broader spectrum of art?
Music as well. For example, like I have my own way. I don't know that this is right or wrong, but in art, I believe that nothing is right and nothing is wrong.
I agree.
You just do your thing yourself, your way. So, for example, like music, I imagine scenes while I'm listening to like many soundtracks. So I have a huge library and I open a soundtrack and I like visualize. I close my eyes and I visualize and build scenes on this soundtrack. So there are two schools. Like you make the scene first and then you choose the right soundtrack for the scene. But I prefer the other school maybe for now, because it gives me more space and chance to visualize more. So maybe this is how I use like music, for example, in films.
It was interesting, really, because to me, music can give life to something that is just inert. So it's very important. It has a great impact in our lives as well, generally speaking. I think it's wave, it's energy. Music is all. Art can be anything. This is diverse and it's broad. how do you choose your subject or the subject that resonates with this broad audience, which is nowadays the attention is everywhere and anywhere. So how do you get your vision there across?
For now, at the moment, maybe for this question, I have like 100 of answers in my head. But let's say the perfect answer for now, that I'm going with my flow. I'm just going, like exploring and like trying to feed my brain. So maybe the answer is I'm trying to go with my flow.
So you just whatever comes, you use it in the best advantage, basically, of yours.
Exactly.
That's great.
Because I feel that this is meant to be, you know.
Yeah, and as well, when you force art, it stops being art. It's like art is something very spontaneous, and when we create, we need it to be in a flow state, which actually is not long.
Yes.
You have, scientifically speaking, 1 hour and a half. Then you have to have a break, another hour and a half. Then you have to have a break. And there is like a maximum of 6 hours a day where you enter the flow state, and is where you literally do what you feel and what is within. Yeah. And sometimes you lose track of time. Yeah. And there is when the more beautiful pieces of art are born in that state. Let's finish with this last question. And I think it's a very interesting one for you. So what film and art trends do you expect for the future? What are your upcoming projects? Is there anything?
My upcoming project. Look, as I told you, like I started the journey, and yeah, as I told you, I'm going with my flow. So I started the journey making a documentary film about people who moved from the city life to Sinai. Then I moved to Sinai. Then I made a documentary about something in Sinai. Now I'm here. I'm scouting now. I'm just looking for the first inspiration to like create more and more. But maybe what's in my head maybe is to show more about the Bedouin community, because the Bedouin community is really interesting and different as well than most of the other, like different community then. So it's good to show people, for example, people in Europe or in the West or whatever, to show them something happening in this part of the world. So yeah, maybe I can say that the next project is about something about the Bedouin community in South Sinai, Egypt.
Continuation of this documentary, or okay, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I tend to finish this spontaneous and not planned at all space, and that the space is yours, and it's for you to share to whomever is listening something inspirational, something that you think people need to hear, or something that maybe changed your life. So the camera is yours.
All I can say for all filmmakers in the world, if I can say this, is to like keep going, dream, and be consistent. I think this is at least for me now, this is the magic trick. So yeah, this is maybe the message.
Great, thank you so much for your time. And well, this is the end of this episode. Today we are in Sinai, tomorrow we don't know where. Thank you for listening. This is AwakeNomada. I see you next time.